Alhamdulillah, we finished 1.5 juz tonight, bringing us to the third quarter of the 13th juz. Several surahs were covered. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. In Surah Ra'd, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, ayah number 28, surah number 13. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ طُوبَى لَهُمْ وَحُسْنُ مَآبٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayat says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe, وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, and their hearts gain contentment and happiness and peace from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, verily, بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ, it is with the remembrance of Allah that the hearts find contentment. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe and do righteous deeds, طُوبَى لَهُمْ وَحُسْنُ مَآبٍ, for them is a bountiful worldly life as well as a beautiful return in the hereafter. So in these ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, ayah 28 and 29 from Surah 13, that those who believe, their hearts, they gain contentment, they gain peace, they gain solace from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attracts our attention and He says, Allah, verily, pay attention, it is with the remembrance of Allah that the hearts find contentment. The scholars say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a active participle mudari verb here, which means تَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم, meaning their hearts continually, always gain itminan, gain contentment from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about those who believe and do righteous deeds. They will have a beautiful life in this world as well as a beautiful place to return to in the hereafter. So in this life, all the human beings are struggling, making efforts. In whatever capacity they are in, whatever field they are in, everyone is making efforts, making struggles. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى, all of you are making efforts, but your efforts are diverse in nature. If you ask the student that why are you struggling so hard, burning the midnight oil, studying for your exams, he will say, I'm striving hard so that I can get good results and good grades. And if you ask him, what is your objective of getting good grades? He says, the objective of getting good grades is so that I can have a good career. If I get my degree and if I get my qualifications, then I will have a good resume and I can, inshallah, get a good career. If you ask the person who has a good career, why do you have the good career? Why are you working so hard at work? It is so that I can make more money, I can get promotions. And if you ask the person who got the promotions and who made the more money, what is your objective with the money? He says, with the money, I can buy a beautiful house, I can buy beautiful cars, beautiful furniture, beautiful things of this world. And if you ask the person who bought the beautiful things of this world, the beautiful houses and the beautiful cars and the beautiful sofas, beautiful furniture, what is the objective of all these things? He says, the objective of all these things is so that I can gain happiness and contentment. In that happiness and contentment, the creator of the contentment, our creator and the creator of everything in existence, is saying it does not lie in those worldly things. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. The reality is, the true contentment lies in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the remembrance of Allah alone. And opposite of this ayah, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي, and the one who turns away from my dhikr, the one who turns away from my remembrance, فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ, for him there will be a very difficult, straitened life. وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى, and on the day of judgment he will be resurrected blind. قَالَ رَبِّ لِمَ حَشَرْتَنِي أَعْمَى, he will say, oh my Lord, why did you raise me up blind? وَقَدْ كُنْتُ بَصِيرًا. Whereas in the worldly life I could see. قَالَ كَذَلِكَ أَتَتْكَ آيَاتُنَا فَنَسِيتَهَا. Then Allah will say, likewise, my ayat and my verses were recited unto you and you forgot them, you ignored them. وَكَذَلِكَ الْيَوْمَ تُنْسَى. Likewise, today you will be forgotten, you will be ignored. So the reality is that the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the remembrance of Allah, which is the essence of our deen, essence of all of the ibadat, essence of our life, is to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all conditions. This is the source of contentment, this is the source of happiness, which is the objective of all of humanity. All of humanity is striving hard day and night to achieve that contentment, but they are searching for it. Unfortunately, the greatest tragedy is in the wrong place. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so clear here in the Quran. Subhanallah. And there is a major misconception that we have, even those of us who might be practicing the deen. We feel that the people who are making effort for the dunya, for the worldly material, they will have an enjoyable material, worldly life. And those who make the effort for the deen, they will have it in the hereafter. But they will have a difficult life. The reality is, in the beginning stages, when a person is struggling and going through the stage of mujahada, yes, there would be a struggle in the dini life as well. But once a person reaches the level that he becomes a nafs mutma'inna and he's pleased with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this worldly life itself becomes a jannah for him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it very clear that this deen is there to make our life easy, our worldly life easy. He said to Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu, the leader of the Quraysh, Ya Aba Sufyan, Ya Aba Sufyan, ji'tukum bi khayri dunya wa karamatil akhirah. O Abu Sufyan, I have come to you with this deen that will make your dunya better for you and will give you honor in the hereafter as well. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Man amila salihan min dhakarin aw untha, whoever does righteous deeds, whether they are male or female, wa huwa mu'min, provided they are a true believer, فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً, we will grant them a beautiful, bountiful life. This hayatun tayyibah is not in Jannatul Firdaus, it's not in Jannatul Adn, Jannatul Mawa. This is in this dunya. Allah will give them a beautiful life in this worldly life. فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. And then وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُم بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Then Allah will give them a beautiful reward in the hereafter as a result of their actions, in compensation for their actions. So, this deen is not to make our life difficult, this deen is actually to make our life easy, to make our life full of contentment and happiness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. The deen is not there to make your life difficult. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah intends ease for you, not difficulty. How do we reconcile this with all those ayats of mujahada? The ayats of mujahada are in the beginning stages. Yes, when we have a nafs ammara bisu and our nafs is compelling us towards evil, taking us towards evil, then to capture that nafs and to go against that nafs and to bring it onto the itaat and obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires a struggle. And when we continue that struggle until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us the power over that nafs, then the life will become enjoyable. The salah, for example, that we take, it is a struggle to get up for fajr, it is a struggle to perform the salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make إِنَّمَا جُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ. Allah has made the coolness of my eyes in salah. Rasulullah has said, the coolness of my eyes is in salah. Arihna ya Bilal. Oh Bilal, give us comfort by calling the adhan. The same ibadah will become a source of pleasure, halawa. It will become a source of enjoyment. That which is a struggle will become a source of enjoyment, contentment. We have to go through the struggle phase to reach the end phase. Even Rasulullah in the initial stages, he went through the struggle in the Meccan era. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up the doors for him in the Madinan era. This is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No exception. We all have our struggles in life. But let us not lose hope in the struggles and say that this will be a struggle all the way till the end. Maybe we'll get something in Jannah. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us that happiness and that contentment in this worldly life itself, if we continue on this path. On the other path, the path of the dunya and following the desires, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُ الْهَوَىٰ فَيُضِلَّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. It will lead you astray from the path of Allah, and a person will be like chasing his shadow. He will never be able to catch it. He will never ever gain that happiness. Just like when Rabi' ibn Amir radiallahu anhu came into the court of the Kisra, the Persian emperor was sitting on his throne, the world famous throne of the Persian emperor, and he had his huge crown on his head, such a massive crown that he could not even hold it up on his head. It was suspended from the ceiling with an invisible thread, and he would come and put his head underneath it. That's how big the crown was. And all his courtiers and noblemen were dressed in their finest on the right and left, and he was sitting in his full pomp and glory. And Rabi ibn Amir radiallahu anhu came in, the messenger of Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu, the Amir of the army in Futuh al-Iraq. And he came in the conquest of Iraq and the conquest of Persia. Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu was the Amir. He sent Rabi ibn Amir radiallahu anhu as a messenger, envoy, and he came alone. And the condition that he had was that his horse was so skinny that the ribs were showing from both sides. And he did not even have a saddle, which was a bare minimum equipment that a rider would have, a saddle. He came bareback on his horse without a saddle. Imagine how uncomfortable it would have been. And his sword was hanging naked on his side. He did not have a scabbard. He did not have the cover for the sword, the scabbard for the sword. And it was dragging on his hips. From his hip it was hanging and it was dragging down. It was falling down. And it was cutting through the red carpet, but he kept on walking. Subhanallah. And on the other side, we see the Persian Empire in its full pomp and glory. Subhanallah. All of the soldiers that were standing at attention on the right and the left, they were fully armed. Not only armed, they had jeweled scabbards. They had jewels encrusted in their handles. And they had pearls and jewels. That carpet that was there, when the Fatah Madain occurred, the capital of the Persian Empire, there was a carpet that came amongst all of the treasures into Madinat al-Munawwara, into Masjid al-Nabawi. And that one carpet, there was a garden on the carpet. All of the grass was made of emerald. And all of the bark of the trees was made of gold. And all of the fruits on the trees were rubies and emeralds and sapphires and diamonds. And they took up that was just one item in the entire list of, there was a full list that came to tally to the Baytul Mal, to the public treasury, the money that was coming. And of course, when Umar radiallahu anhu saw that huge treasure, he started crying. He started crying and crying. So the people told him, this is a day of happiness, day of victory, why are you crying? He said that, I remember one time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he turned around and half of the Saf had fallen down. There was no earthquake. Why did the half the Saf fall down? Do you know why the half the Saf fall down? Out of hunger. They were exhausted to the level of in hunger and starvation that they couldn't stand. They fell down, half the Saf. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them, لَيْسَ الْفَقْرُ أَخْشَىٰ عَلَيْكُمْ, I'm not worried about your poverty. وَلَكِنْ أَخْشَىٰ أَن تُبْسَطَ عَلَيْكُمُ الدُّنْيا كما بسطت على من كان قبلكم فتنافسوها كما تنافسوها فتهلككم كما أهلكتهم. He said, I'm not worried about the poverty that half of you are falling down, literally falling down out of starvation. I'm not worried about this. I'm worried rather about the dunya that is going to open up upon you. And then you are going to start vying and fighting with one another over this material dunya. And then you will love it. And then it will corrupt you, just like it corrupted the people prior to you. He said, if this was good, then it would have come in the era of the one who was better than me. Why didn't this dunya come in the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why didn't it come in the time of my predecessor, my beloved, my master, Abu Bakr Siddiq? Why didn't it come in the era of Khalifatul Rasulillah? Why it had to come in the time of Umar bin Khattab? So that is why he was crying. So anyway, in that entire list of things, there was the one carpet. Now they looked at the carpet, they never imagined in their life such wealth. They could not, for generations that they were striving, they would never be able to amass such wealth, because you have, for example, one whole chest full of diamonds, one chest full of rubies, right? Chests or boxes, crates. No, they weren't crates. They were whole halls, like hall full of diamonds. A whole hall full of diamonds. Whole hall. This is mentioned by Waqdi in Futuh al-Iraq and Futuh al-Sham. If you read these books of history, unbelievable treasures came. Subhanallah. So they said, what should we do with this carpet? So they said, okay, there's no place to put it. So then they cut it up. It's so sad cutting up such a nice carpet, right? Because if you're attached to dunya, you'll say, oh, the carpet was cut up. But they cut it up into small pieces. And every Sahabi was there, they got a small piece. And that was so valuable. With one small piece of the carpet, people bought estates and farms and huge lands. So he came through that, cutting the carpet into the court of Kisra. And look at what he said when he asked him, why have you come? This is the famous words of Rabi ibn Amir. He said, why have you come into our lands? What do you want? So he said, we have not come. Inna Allah ibta'athana. Verily Allah has sent us. We are not coming on our own accord. We have been sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore behind us is the power of the authority who has sent us. If you are an ambassador of the United States government, you have the power of the United States government backing you. So likewise, we are the ambassadors of Allah, so we have Allah backing us. Inna Allah ibta'athana linukhrij al-ibad min ibadati al-ibad ila ibadati rabbil ibad. We have come to take out the slaves from the slavery of other slaves, free them from the slavery of other slaves, and bring them into the slavery of the Lord of all slaves. Free the slaves, nukhrij al-ibad min ibadati al-ibad ila ibadati rabbil ibad. To free the slaves from the slavery of other slaves into the slavery of the Lord of all slaves. And what is related to our topic tonight is the second part. This is the most ironic thing, because from all outward ways looking at it, and physical means, he is in a very deplorable state. He is so skinny, his horse is starving, and his ribs are showing. He doesn't have a cover for his sword, and he is in a very pitiable condition. And these people have everything of the world. So you know what he says? Allahu Akbar. Think about it. He says, we came لِنُخْرِجَ الْعِبَادَ. Number one, وَمِنْ ضِيقِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَى سَعَتِهَا. And we have come to relieve you from the difficult life that you are suffering from, and to bring you into the true enjoyable life of Islam. وَمِنْ ضِيقِ الدُّنْيَا. From the tightened life that you are suffering from, we came to free you إِلَى سَعَتِهَا, to the true enjoyment life. You see the plane he come on. He has such a superior level he's speaking. He does not have any inferiority complex. And last thing he says, number three, وَمِنْ جَوْرِ الْأَدْيَانِ إِلَى عَدْلِ الْإِسْلَامِ. And from the tyranny of all the false religions, we came to free you and bring you into the justice of the true religion of Islam. So this is the reality. That's why the awliya Allah, they say that in our khanqahs, in our ibadatgah, in our places of ibadah, in our khalwat places, how much happiness and how much contentment that we have in enjoyment. We are meaning that we are enjoying all these pleasures. If the ahlul dunya, if the people of the dunya knew, then they would come with their armies and try to snatch this blessing from us. Ahlul layli fi laylihim aladhu min ahlil lahwi fi lahwihim. That the ones who are enjoying the qiyam in the night, they are in more enjoyment than those who are passing the nights in the various sins of the flesh. Those who are enjoying the night in the ibadah of Allah have more enjoyment than the ones who are enjoying the night in various sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the true reality. As I made this statement many times, I repeated of our Shaykh Mulana Sulaiman Sawqsi Sallallahu Barakatuhum. He used to tell the students in Sahih Muslim Dars, oh my dear students, you know the pleasures of beautiful beds. You know the pleasure of, they used to be water beds, now they're air beds and sleep number beds and comfort beds. You know the pleasure of all the beautiful beds and beautiful thread mattresses, 5,000 count, and hotel quality bedding, and beautiful beds, and sleeping on them comfortably with nice AC. There's a pleasure in that, especially if you're very tired and exhausted laying in the bed. There is a pleasure. But there is another pleasure that you are unaware of, you have not tasted. It is beyond that pleasure. It is the pleasure of standing in qiyam in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in long nights, reciting the Quran, and enjoying that munajat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the communication with Allah. There is another pleasure in that. Likewise, you know the pleasure in the 3-course, 5-course, 7-course meals, beautiful china, silverware, and beautiful meals that have been prepared professionally by chefs who make $200,000 a year, and beautiful. And even the way you look at it pleases the eye, the aroma pleases the nose, and the taste pleases the tongue. It is an all-around amazing experience, and the different walimas and 7-star hotels. But there is another pleasure which is beyond that the Ahlullah, they feel in remaining hungry and thirsty in the hot summer days for the sake of Allah while they're fasting. There is an inner pleasure in that. And he said that, you know the pleasure of amassing wealth, counting wealth. الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَهُ. You think the money will last you forever. You count the money, you count it, and you get so happy about my stock portfolio is diversified and it's increasing, all my assets are increasing. You look at the screen, at the digital numbers. It's not gold and silver anymore, it's all numbers. You look at all the numbers at the bank balance and you get so happy about it. But there is another pleasure in spending with the right and the left, secretly, openly, in spending all the money a person has for the sake of Allah in this cause, in that cause, in khair. And then a person gets an inner satisfaction, an inner happiness that is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for spending in the path of Allah. That is another pleasure we have not tasted. And he said it is like the child who is not baligh, he has no idea about the bliss of marriage. أَوَ الطِّفْلِ الَّذِينَ لَمْ يَظْهَرُوا عَلَىٰ عُرَاتِ النِّسَاءِ. Allah, when He speaks in Surah An-Nur about a woman and she does not have to observe hijab in front of which relatives, then Allah mentions also أَوَ الطِّفْلِ الَّذِينَ لَمْ يَظْهَرُوا عَلَىٰ عُرَاتِ النِّسَاءِ. Also those young children who are unaware of what happens after marriage and the relation between men and women. A woman does not have to observe hijab because he's an innocent young boy. That age of innocence is going lower and lower in this culture nowadays. Anyway, he said just like the child doesn't know anything, that is how we are not baligh in these spiritual pleasures. But there is spiritual halawa, there is a spiritual pleasure that is to be found if we get our heart right, if we get the tazkiyah of our heart. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the tazkiyah of our heart in this month and allow us to witness these pleasures before we return to Allah. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka.